Hello and welcome to Upcycle Creations. This is Kids Edition Part 1. We're going to be making Spirit Day creations for my daughter's first Spirit Week in kindergarten. So I got really inspired today. We actually sat down and we designed some outfits together. And so we are going to start just with day 1 of her Spirit Week, which for her is Wear Your Words. It's Nevada Reading Week, so where we live in Las Vegas. So Nevada Reading Week, she's in kindergarten. So I'm going to show you how to make a very simple t-shirt using one of your kids or your own t-shirt that you have lying around. So find a shirt that you like how it fits and then can easily draw a simple pattern from there. So you'll need a t-shirt. If you have kids, that's amazing. Maybe you're watching this video because you have kids. I think when you're learning something, especially learning to sew, it's really accessible to start with kids' clothing because it's a much smaller scale. So if you make a whole garment and then mess up, it's not like you've created this whole massive yardage of fabric. It's much smaller. So you can practice your techniques and get comfortable in your sewing machine making clothing for your kid. I actually started making clothing and I made my daughter so many clothes just practicing trial and error. So it's a really good way to start. So you'll need a shirt. If you are doing this for yourself though, that's completely fine. So you'll need a shirt. To pattern with. For your fabric, I'm going to use a jersey bamboo cotton blend. I sourced this from Kindle Fabrics. I've linked them in one of my other videos, so I'll go ahead and do that as well here. And then I'm also going to, so Wear Your Words is her Spirit Day, so she wants a shirt that says, I love cats. And so I have this shirt that she used to wear at size 4, and it's really tight on her. And so I asked her permission, and she said yes, but I'm going to cut out the cat face and the ears, and I'm going to use the sleeve details and the rest of the shirt to kind of mesh with the white and make a black and white top for her that's more this size. So this will turn into this, but with some embellishments and the white shirt being the base. So we're going to be doing some different techniques today, showing you how to make a shirt. I'll show you again first how to pattern. For your pattern, you'll need some paper. I show you in my Sewing 101 video how to make pattern paper using Whole Foods bags, Trader Joe's bags. But if you want an actual pattern paper, you can go to Michael's and just get brown craft paper, or they have pattern-specific paper that you could buy on Amazon or online or something. So you'll need pattern paper, a pencil, you'll need scissors. I just learned actually that you're not supposed to use your sewing scissors for paper. However, I'm still going to do it for this video, and I'm planning on buying new scissors another time. So 2 pairs of scissors, one for cutting out your pattern, one for cutting out your fabric, so you don't make the same mistakes as me. A measuring tape rope. These are good for measuring sleeves, so while you can use just a wooden one, I recommend one of these as well if you have one lying around, but a wooden one will work just fine. And then, yeah, you'll just need some fabric. And you'll need a sewing machine. So if you're following along, this is how you make a shirt. So first we'll start by drawing and cutting out our pattern. I am realizing that this is a good practice to get in the habit of, just so while you're creating and experimenting, you can have patterns to go off and kind of adjust instead of creating out of thin air each time you want to try something. So even if this shirt doesn't work out, if it does work out, at least you have a pattern for it. So I would recommend always making a pattern. So we're going to trace the whole thing, but then we're going to end up folding it in half to just make sure our shirt pattern is symmetrical. So we'll go ahead and start from the top. We'll just draw where the neckline is, so you're just going to make marks where the neck is. And then you want to fold it down and make a mark where the bottom of the neck is. So right now I have 3 marks for the neck whole area. And then starting from there, we'll go ahead and draw the shoulders. So the shoulder, you're just going to draw a line from the neck area seam to the top, or the first shoulder seam. And then go ahead and mark the bottom where the armpit seam is for the sleeve. Go from the armpit and go ahead and draw down. You can shape your shirt however you want. So from there you can go out if you want it wider, or you can go in if you want it more curved in. I'm just going to go straight. And then for the bottom, you'll just draw a straight line across. And then again, we'll do the other side as well. Mark the armpit seam, mark the shoulder seam, draw the line to connect to the neck hole seam. For the sleeves, we're going to do those next. So far we have a very rough pattern. From here, we're going to kind of just draw lines, and then again, we're going to fold it in half at the end to make it all symmetrical. So here I'm just going to roughly draw a neck seam or a neck hole. So we're just going to cut this out and then we'll fold it in half. Let's go ahead and just cut it. You have the markings, so you can just cut straight up because the arm pattern for the shirt will go in. So then cut the shoulders. And then I'm just going to cut straight across right now. Okay, and then I'm going to cut right here. Alright, so we cut to about the middle. And so now we'll go ahead and fold it in half and match up the shoulder to sleeve seam and start folding it in half from there. Okay, so obviously the shirt laid out is not symmetrical, as you can see. Way over. So we'll go ahead and just go off of our folded in half design. So then from there you can just take your scissors and cut around. Okay, so I am bringing out some weights just because this paper keeps folding and I've never really patterned with this paper before, so I was not aware of that. So we're going to bring out some weights to help with the pattern making process. Okay, so from here we have just our basic shirt. So now we're going to go ahead and remark the armholes. And what we'll do here is just measure this length on this side. It's 6 inches on the right side. And then we'll measure it on this side as well. So since we folded it in half, we know that that is going to be approximately the right area. So 6 inches down on that side. Then you could check from your middle line. That it's the same, and it's the same. So then here, what I like to do on a regular t-shirt pattern is use the same front and back, especially for like an oversized fit. I don't think you need like a bigger front or a back, but what you do need is slightly different armholes. So the back armhole is going to be less of a curve. So for this right side, we'll do the back side, and you just kind of want to curve it in. There's a really good sleeve video that I can link that shows you a really geometrical way to do this, like using a ruler and using an angle measurement tool, but I'm just going to kind of eyeball it for these purposes because it's a kid's shirt and I trust myself to be able to eyeball it. So I'm just going to do, this is going to be the back one, and then the front one you want to curve a little bit more in. So we're going to go here, curve it in more, and find the sleeve here. And then we're going to adjust this as well. So now for the sleeve pattern, I'm going to go ahead and take the shirt that you started with and fold it in half. So then you will get the sleeve. And so we're working with the front sleeve first. And so you want to line up your sleeve like this horizontally on a pattern paper so you can accurately draw your entire sleeve pattern. And you're going to draw the front and the back of the sleeve in the same pattern, and so you'll see how we do that. So you go ahead and mark the armpit, and you can mark the top. And so that's roughly the length of your sleeve from top to bottom. For a sleeve, I like to add like a little bit more just to allow the sleeve to not bunch, allow you to ease in the sleeve on that seam. So we're going to add just a little bit, and we're going to make the middle about 1/2 inch longer than this sleeve measurement. So then, this will be our front sleeve. You want this curve on your sleeve approximately like 2 inches from the armpit line up towards the shoulder. You want that little notch, approximately 2 inches, to line up with this bottom part of your sleeve pattern. So this is the middle of your sleeve. This will be the top, the shoulder bit, and then that will be the front, and then that will be the back side of the sleeve. So then it's up to just drawing the curves. So if we find this curve on the front, we will go ahead and cut it out. So you want that to match up. So we'll go ahead and trace it from the pattern, and just from that first line to that 2-inch knot, make that little line the same curve. And then from there, we'll just draw our own line to the top of the shoulder. So now you know that those little notches will line up on the front side of the shirt. So now we'll take the back side. And for the back, we just want to make sure it's not as curved as the front. Looks good. We'll go ahead and cut the back out. So when we're doing the back, go ahead and fold the shirt in half again and lay it the opposite way. And we'll go ahead and measure the back. So line up the top. We're going to add a 1/2 inch on this side as well, approximately. Mark the armpit, the top, and then for the back, go ahead and do the same thing where we line it up and draw just approximately 2 inches up, that nice curve, and then connect them. Alright, and then it's as simple as that. So now we're going to go ahead and see how long the sleeve is. The sleeve at the shoulder bit is approximately 5 inches long. So we'll take from the top middle point and we'll go 5 inches down. And then, yeah, we'll just, this is where you could use a wooden ruler. And take your wooden ruler, draw a line across, and then here we'll go ahead and check our measurements. So from the back side, so we'll go ahead and mark it here, B and then F. From this side, it's approximately 2.5. And from the front side, oh, it's just a little bit under 2.5. So it's exactly perfect, actually. So sometimes it just works out. At the bottom, you want to curve a little bit, you want to angle in. So I would say do, I don't know, so it's from front to back, it's 12.5 inches. So we're going to do like a 1/2 inch in on each side. So angle it in to be a 1/2 inch in on each side. Okay? And you have your sleeve pattern. So now we're just going to go and double check that it will fit our sleeves. And so here's where the roller measuring tape comes in handy. So you'll take your measuring tape and measure the front and kind of lay it out and turn it like that, standing it up. And the front armhole is approximately 7 1/4. And we'll do the same thing to the back. 7 1/4 and 6 1/4. Okay, and then so that's 13 1/2. So then we'll do the same thing to measure our pattern. We'll just kind of do the measuring tape standing up and curve it around. And our pattern is 14. So we successfully added 1/2 inch on each side. So we will cut out our t-shirt pattern, or our short sleeve. Right? And then what we could do is just, while we have our pattern already out, we'll just label this Hazel 5 to 6 size sleeve, short sleeve, and you could label that the same. And you have your pattern saved, just in case this creation works out and you like it. And then with this, you can always make adjustments. So if you don't like the way something fits, you can always take something in and so forth. So for the neck, so what I can do is just go ahead and cut like a back. A back for a shirt is just going to be really curved, like just a short amount. I have mine just an inch down in the middle. And when we're tracing on the fabric, I'll show you just how to make that the front neck fold. So next we will start tracing on our fabric and cutting out fabric. I'm going to use those weights again. Cut out my pattern. And then here you can either trace it with a pencil or chalk, or you can just cut it straight out. For this, I'm going to cut straight out. So this is going to be the back of my shirt, because I'm going to cut the back armhole on this side. And I'm going to cut the back arm or neck hole too. So now when I get to the front on my pattern, I'm just going to go ahead and mark it and just cut straight down. And once I get here, I'm just going to mark it again with my scissors. So then I could just flip my pattern paper over and just cut out the back sleeve. I'll take my pattern and just flip it over, line up the shoulders, bind it up to that notch, put my weights down, and cut out the back sleeve. So now that I've cut out the back, I'll do the exact same thing to the front. So for the neck opening for the front side that I'm cutting out, I'm just marking it with my scissors at the openings. So right here, before you flip over for the armhole on the left side, go ahead and fold down your pattern and mark where we traced our neck hole on the pattern paper. So go ahead and mark your fabric with the tracing from our pattern paper. And then we'll go ahead and flip it over and cut out the left side. So now let's just go ahead and cut out our neck. I'll just go ahead and cut out one side. And then just fold over the piece that I just cut up. Line it up in the center. Line it up to the marking I made on the fabric. And then just cut it out on the other side. And voila! You have a front and a back. We have a front and a back. So next we will move to our cat shirt. And we're going to go ahead and start working on deconstructing this so we can use the fabric for our sleeves. Okay, so I want to be able to use the sleeves. I want to be able to use the front. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to cut these side seams to open up the shirt. I'm going to stop at the armpit, and then I'm just going to cut the other side. I'm actually going to also cut along the sleeve seam as well. So now I have a really open shirt. So now I can actually see if I can fit both patterns on here. So looks like I can, just barely. Amazing. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is actually fold this in half and cut it out once. And it's actually a good idea to do this for sleeves because you need different sides. So now we have our sleeves. There's not really a front and back to this fabric, so it doesn't really matter. But we do know that this side is the front and this side is the back. So we can go ahead and just leave that there, just to make sure we know. We'll keep working on this. So we're going to want to sew this cat on the back of the shirt before we stitch it all together, because that'll just make it easiest to get it on. So let's go ahead and cut out a cat face. So I'm going to start by cutting this shirt in half. And I'm going to try my best to make this round. Alright, so we have a cute little cat head. Next I'm going to cut out the ears. I did leave the ears off on purpose. And I'm going to make them a little bit bigger. So now we have two cute ears that I think are going to flop up on the shirt. Alright. So this is what we have so far. We have black sleeves, this black cat, and black ink for the front of the shirt. Now I want to make the neckband out of this gold fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and polish off the sleeve. Let's go ahead and cut it like this. And then fold it in half. And in half again. And just cut a straight line like that. To measure a neckband, we'll do the same thing as we did for the sleeves. So we'll take your measuring tape and just go ahead and measure the back, which is 6, and then the front, which is 9. And then you want to make the neckband a little bit smaller depending on how stretchy your fabric is that you're using for your neckband. This one's not that stretchy the way I want to use it, so I'm going to times it by I'm going to do 0.95 to allow for the seam allowance for binding them together. So we'll do 5. So we're going to first cut this in half because it's a sleeve. So cut this in half first. Alright, that will be the front, fold it in half. That will be our neckband. 5 and 7/5. And cut it right about there. So that's for the back. And then for the front, we'll do the same thing, fold this in half. And we'll do 9 times 0.95, which is 8. We'll just do 8. We'll do a little bit, just to allow, just in case. We'll do 8 and 3/4 as well. It's better to be longer than shorter. You can always overstretch it and then cut off a little bit more if you need to. Alright, so now we have all of our pieces that we need to do right now. So what I'm going to do first, so I'm working with a jersey stretch so it doesn't fray. I don't need to allow for a big seam allowance at the shoulders. I don't need to do anything to polish up my seams. I'm just going to leave it as is. Again, this is a kid's shirt. And nobody's going to get harmed by wearing these clothes, even if they're not perfect. That's how I look at fashion or clothing. You're not being harmed. So there's a big room for error. You can mess up, and it doesn't need to be absolutely spot on and polished all the time if you don't want it to be. If you want it to be, then that's great as well. So I'm going to first sew on this cat the way I want on the back of the fabric, and then I'll sew together these shoulder seams, front sides facing each other when you're doing a seam. I'll show you when I'm doing it. So first the cat, then the shoulders, then I will sew the arms, and then I'll sew the sides, and then we will do the neckband, and then we'll figure out a cuff for the sleeves. This may be white to draw on the white at the ends as well. And then we'll figure out a hem for the bottom of the shirt. So I'm going to go to the sewing machine now and start with the cat. I have the shirt relatively centered. I debated changing my thread, and to be honest, I think white thread will be fine. Or I could do a black thread, but I'd have to rethread my entire machine. I don't even think black thread spool works on this machine. We're just doing white thread. I love my daughter, but I don't have a black thread spool that works actually. So we're just going to do a straight stitch all along the edge. I'm going to hope it doesn't fray that much. If it does start to fray, I might fix it in the future with a zigzag, but today we're just going to do a straight stitch. I'm going to try and line up my needle as close to the edge of the fabric as possible. For my straight stitch, I'm going to have it at like a 3 length, 3.5, so the fabric doesn't bunch with the stretch knit. And I'm going to go ahead and start. So I think that looks pretty good. Alright, so now for the ears. For the ears, I am going to go ahead and hem them so they don't fray. So I'm going to sew them on down first and then fold them up. I have the cat and the ears sewed on, so now I'm going to lay front sides to front sides and stitch the shoulder seams. I'm going to stitch the rest of this at a zigzag stitch just because it's a stretchy fabric, and just in case my daughter pulls at her clothes, it doesn't rip so easily. So I'm going to set my width to a 3. 2.5, and my length to like a 3.5, and I'm just going to sew at the edge of the foot. And you have the front and the back. So cute. Alright, so now I will sew on the sleeves, and then we'll sew the sides together. Alright, so here's my sleeve. This is the front of my shirt, this is the back of my shirt, they turned out to be really similar. So for the sleeves, you're gonna sew on the front side. And so we'll take the front side of my sleeve, which is this side, and we will line it up like that. And remember how the notches kind of match up. So make sure there's no front or back of your fabric. Doesn't look like there is for mine. And so we're going to start at the armpit of the front shirt. You can pin if you wish. I'm going to sew it a zigzag, and we're just going to ease in the sleeve. So we're going to be careful not to like pull. Rather, we're just going to kind of like ease it in. So I just realized I made my sleeve pattern a little too short. It's about 1.5 inches too short. So to salvage this, we're just going to sew right sides facing together. And I'm just going to keep it going. Alright, so it definitely does not look perfect, but it will do. And then we're going to fix the other sleeve entirely. But that's how you kind of fix it. And then to sew up the edge, we'll just line up the bottom of the sleeve. And you have the right side. Does not look too bad. So we don't have enough fabric to cut out the entire sleeve, so what we're going to do with our pattern and our sleeve, we're just going to fold this in half, cut along that dot, and we're going to add, I think we need to add like 2 1/4. That's perfect. Right. So we'll add that. So I'm just stitching that extra flap to the 2 sides of the sleeve to make it longer. And I'm just stitching it right on the edge. And we'll go ahead and stitch it, put it onto the shirt. Okay, looks very cute. So now we'll go ahead and stitch up this other side. Very cute. Alright, so now I'll do the neckband, and then we'll do the cuffs and the bottom hem, and we'll be done. So I'm going to start by just sewing the band together. I'm actually only going to sew one side for right now, just because I, might need to add more. In the band, you're going to want to do right sides facing, and you want to stretch the band, not the fabric underneath, as you're sewing it on. So I lined up the seams, and I'm just going to line the edge of my foot, and I'm going to pull the top fabric as I sew. So I think it's gonna fit. So we're just gonna sew these together as well. So then we'll just pick up back where we left off at the same stopping point that we just did. And so you have a nice color on your cute shirt. It's polka dotted. It's very cute. It's a little stretchy. Hopefully my daughter's head fits through it. Well, I hope my daughter's head fits through it. We're gonna hope for the best on that one. Mine does not. So now we're just going to cuff the sleeves, hem the bottom, and we'll figure that out in a second. So I just dyed this fabric. It's like a pale yellow tan color. So I'm gonna use that for the trim and for the sleeves. And then I decided as well, worst comes to worst, I really like this, but if my daughter's head doesn't fit through it, I figured I'd cut a slit and just make it more of like a V-neck shirt, or even maybe put a button or something, I don't know. So we'll figure it out. I'm gonna go to bed. We're gonna figure it out tomorrow.
Yeah, right. You need to say it with excitement. I love cats.
Woo! So this is the shirt so far. The head hole is definitely too small. I measured my daughter's head this morning, which I should just do before I make clothes, and it's at 20. And this head hole is definitely not at 20. It's at 13. We're gonna have to figure out what to do with that. First, I'm gonna go ahead and put a hem on the sleeves. I have this fabric that I dyed with onion skins, actually, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut out a hem or a little cuff for the sleeve that'll be like that thin. It'll be very thin. And then we'll do the other side, and then we'll do the bottom as well. First, I will go ahead and measure the sleeves. They're about 6.5 inches, so it'd be like 13 inches all the way around. This fabric is very stretchy, so we can do to make a cuff. So it depends if we want the sleeve like cuffed in, or if we just want it like hemmed. I'll go ahead and make it just like cuffed, or just hemmed. So we're gonna cut, so we said 6.5, so we're gonna cut 13 inches long, and we will fold it in half to just cut it twice for the other sleeve. So I'll just cut that twice, 13. And then for the bottom length is 14. That's like, yeah, it's like 14. So we'll also cut that out as well. That would be 28 for the all the way around. So first I'll go ahead and cut 13 for the cuff for the sleeve. It's about 1.5 inches wide. So you'll take this inside, fold it like that. You could just take your iron and just go ahead and follow that fold. And you want this to be a little bit even so it doesn't mess up when you sew it on. Now we have these ironed down, so go ahead and sew this one together. And now we'll take our sleeve, and you're going to find the bottom seam of the sleeve and match that to the bottom of the sleeve. And then just sew all the way around. And then you have your nice little cuff. To make sure it stays like that, what you can do is go ahead and do an inside stitch all along right here to make sure it stays down. So we're going to go ahead and do that and just line it around just with a single stitch or a straight stitch, just at the very edge. That will stay down. So we're going to go ahead and do the other side. And there you have it. Alright, so now we're going to figure out what to do with this neckline. So my initial thought is to cut down. So I'm going to not overthink that thought, and I am going to, just because I really like this neck, I don't want to take it all the way off. I want to be able to use it. So I either want to cut just one slit, so I'm going to fold the shirt in half. The middle of the shirt is right here. So I'm going to cut just at that middle line. We're going to cut through that seam into the white shirt to break up. So now the neck can open. We don't want to just leave it like that though, because then it will like rip down. So we don't want to leave it ripped. So what we'll do is go ahead and fold it in and just hem it there. So it'll just be like an open V-neck type of shirt. And that's what we're going to do. So we'll go ahead and just take it from the inside now and fold it in. Alright. So it's definitely not like what we first wanted, but I think it looks really cute still. Kind of opens up a little bit. So I've cut out 2 long strips. I'm going to cut them to be about 15 inches either one. I have a nice ruler on the bottom of my sewing table, so I'm just going to use that for this purpose. It's about 15 right here. And then I'll just measure it on here and cut the same. Then I'll go ahead and sew them together. Get my shirt, and we'll do the same thing. So I'll take it, this is the inside, we're gonna put it on the outside and line up seam to seam, and just go ahead and stitch on the edge. And I'm using a zigzag stitch because it's stretch fabric. So now we have the bottom, and we'll go ahead and do the same thing that we did to the sleeves, which is stitch on the inside. I'm going to use a zigzag stitch again for the bottom because, again, it's stretch fabric, and just so it doesn't rip when my daughter's putting it over her head. You can just see I'm stitching on the very edge of this seam on the inside, so it's lining up with the middle of my foot. And we have a cat shirt. So I think it looks really cute. I can definitely iron the bottom to just make that a little bit neater, but I think it looks so cute. That's it from the back. All the colors match well together. This is for day 1 of her spirit week. And you can see we kind of created something really unique using my daughter's clothes that she already had and just some white fabric. So thanks for following along and watching. If you made something, let me know in the comments. I'll go ahead and show you how this looks on my kid. And thanks for watching.